kind of cranking right along now. The dog days here, we kind of had a ramp-up period, if you will, up into the scrimmage. In terms of the amount of reps and things we were doing, we'll increase them this week now that we got through this first, call it 8 practices. Continue to work situations, but amp up, some of the reps, some of the conditioning, some of the things you need to do at this time of year. So that's kind of where we're at. Thought it was competitive practice, scrimmage, what you call it, the other night. It was great support from the fans. Still got a long way to go. We'll be back into the red zone today, and important next few days for us in terms of improving as a football team, mentally, physically, every area you're going to need to continue to get ready for the regular season.
What's the process of ramping up for a preseason game, especially the first one?
You asking about play time, or
just in terms of how you prepare for the first preseason game?
Yeah, we're really focused on us right now and improving our fundamentals and techniques and execution and assignments and conditioning. That's where we're at. That's where we're going to spend the next 3 days of really focusing on what we can do better collectively, coaches, players, staff. That's where we need to be.
Brian, you mentioned conditioning a few times the other night and again today. Are the players farther behind than you would like at this point, conditioning-wise?
No, again, that was the ramp-up period relative to what we were doing. Soft tissue injuries, keep them healthy. It was really the plan. Pressed them a little bit that night with long drives. The sports science people say that we had 34 plays in 45 minutes, and that was kind of the plan of going into it for the ones to press them a little bit, and then so we can get going here this week of, again, the intensity, the effort, the energy has been good. We're just going to increase it a little bit relative to reps or extra conditioning, if you will, in between. You'll see we'll do a red zone period today at some point, and then we're all going to sprint to the other end of the field and just keep the same group on and do 2 more plays in the red zone. Or we might sprint a little bit, some quick sprints before a period, and then have another period right after that. So all part of the plan in terms of the off season and talking with the sports science and the trainers. You tweak things here and there, but that's where it's kind of where we plan to be this week.
I know you weren't a head coach last year, but you were obviously
every year, any year. Yeah.
How did you see the preparation for the preseason change when they took the 4th game away? Did you guys change anything specifically? Do you have a better understanding of how to handle it this year now?
That's a good question. It was always the kind of the same for each team 20 years ago, and I think every coach has their own philosophy. There's people that don't play their guys at all. There's people that play them a little bit more than others. I think you have to do what I've learned is what's best for your team, being around different teams and different coaches, and kind of what you need as your team and your team development. Being our first year, we'll try to decide what's best for us, with our guys.
What's your philosophy generally? Where do you stand on that?
I think it's a collective effort. I think it's an individual basis with the players. Some guys have played a lot of football, some have played less. Everybody's in new systems here with our system on offense, our system on defense. The kicking game is similar, but I think that's important for, to play football, to have live reps. How many reps that's going to be, Jordan, I can't tell you right now. I think it'll be less for some and more for others, and each game will have a plan going into it, but I anticipate all of our guys playing on Thursday. I haven't even talked about it with the players either. I think our focus is really on getting better, but probably should have told them before I told you.
When you hired Brian Cox, he'd been out of the league for, 5 years. Just curious, what the process was like, what appealed to think it was right to bring him in?
Well, I was with Brian when he was a player, and he was one of the best leaders I've ever been around as a linebacker. He was smart, tough, dependable. Back when we were playing at New England, he had an unbelievable hit on Python. That kind of, we were 0-2 going into a game, if I'm not mistaken, and heavy underdogs. And early on the game, he set the tempo. He was always there as a player. Then I've been around him as he started his coaching career at different spots. He's a very loyal person. He's smart. He's played a lot of, he's he was a linebacker, but he was basically like a defensive line playing linebacker back in those days. But I thought he could add value to the staff. There's a lot of people in the room when he was interviewed and asking him questions. Good teammate, a lot of good things.
Do you have any idea when Andre might be back?
No, I talked to him a lot. He's sooner rather than later, I think, Dan. But there's not like a set date. He's just still working through some things medically, and he knows we're there for him.
Brian, how would you rate the attitude of this team from day one, and how important is that for the success of a team?
They've been good. They've come in here, they've done everything they've been asked to do. I think they come in with a good attitude each day. They take corrections well, they try to improve them. They have good energy out on the practice field. They give good effort. There was kind of a rest day for them yesterday, day off, and there was so many guys in here getting treatments, workouts, taking care of their bodies, and that's on their own time. So it's good to see those guys come in and take care of their most important tool, which is their body. And they've been a good group to work with, study hard, good communicators. So it's been a good group to work with.
In football terms, are they where you expected to be, whatever it is, 2 weeks into camp and a few days out?
Yeah, Judy, I don't have any expectations I just expect them to get better each day. There's a lot of stuff to clean up. There always is every training camp, regardless of any team you're with. But I'd say especially a new team with new systems and new communication and different things. I think we've made progress. I think it's, we still have a long way to go.
Brian, as you have lost McEnroe and McKeithen, as you fill your offensive line depth, is there a need for not maybe just like a UFA flyer, but like a guy who's actually played a bunch of games in the NFL for the second team offensive line?
Yeah, I think Joe and his staff, the scouting department, are going to look at every avenue to try to improve that situation. You obviously can't have a crystal ball when that stuff happens, and it's too bad, by the way, of Marcus. I spoke to him yesterday. For a young player to have basically a non-contact injury, it was tough. But he's in good spirits, so he'll have to start rehabbing. But we'll try to do whatever we need to do, whatever it needs to do. We're going to try to do.
How much things stand with Gano? Because I know he's off that exempt list. I know he's still trying
He's
to
here.
figure
He's not doing anything physical, but he's here today.
How much does that situation with the line accelerate Josh's development and what you need from him?
I don't think there's any pressure in terms of that. I think we've put him in a lot of different spots early on in camp, and that's not always easy for a rookie. But we're going to need him to be flexible. You'd like to be able to let him sit at one spot as a young player, but where we are, and he did a good job in spring and up to this point right now of being able to play both spots. We'll need him. We'll need him at each spot.
Brian, what have you seen, I guess, from day one from Andre Miller, a guy obviously changing positions, and he gets a little bit of first-team reps out here?
Yeah, well, he has some good quickness, and he's got good ball skills. But he's a receiver at Maine, so to come in here and switch positions, it's not the easiest thing. I was around a fullback by the name of James Devlin, who was one of the all-time great players to be around. Smart, tough, dependable. Was a defensive end, went through all these different leagues, and he learned to play that position at a high level. But it was a work in progress. I'd say that's where Andre is. He does some things well. Some of the things he's doing for the first time ever. It's such a different game when you're in the backfield and looking to block guys in the box rather than outside running against a corner or whoever it may be. So, he's studying hard. He's got a long way to go to continue to improve, but he has a skill set that he's done a good job with it so far.
You mentioned you mentioned the sports science a little bit earlier. You obviously were a part of staffs when there were two-a-days, so I understand like the health aspect of it. But have you found that it's a little more challenging to get guys ready for the season opener now with that kind of the restrictions that are placed on you?
No, because each year you evolve. From two-a-days you evolve to one-a-day. Then there's more sports science. There's more analytics involved. I'd say I learned a lot of my time at Buffalo, where they've gotten off to historically fast starts and very healthy roster. So, I was thankful for my time learning under, Brandon and Sean and how they did things there. And I think you just adapt every year, adjust and adapt to whatever the rules are, how much practice time, the structure of it. I think that's what you get paid to do as a coach.
How were you able to do that? Get off to those fast starts despite the less time to prepare for it?
Well, you have good players that go out there and execute well under pressure. They were healthy. I think Coach McDermott does a great job with those guys, at Buffalo of getting them ready to go early. And, at the end of the day, it's about the players going out there and executing and performing under pressure and making the plays when they need to.
When you went out there, you had the scrimmage the other day, and you went back and watched it. Is there anything you came away saying, okay, this is either what we did really well or need to work on, or any one in particular that you said that really stood out to you? Said, okay,
yeah,
this was noticeable.
Yeah, no, good question. A lot of things to work on. The coaches came back and watched it.
I'm just
right
wondering
after the
if there's anything
scrimmage.
like when we go out here,
Yeah,
and
in
you said, okay,
in
we
general-
need to do this, so we're going to do this.
No, I think that,
today
look,
because
there's-
we didn't do it good the other day.
Again, it was good to see the threes get some live tackling reps in there to evaluate it. But I think you're always working, Jordan. It's a constant battle of certain things you want to work on each day. There's nothing that we have set in stone right now in terms of, we're doing this so great. We're a long way to go. We have, whether it's how to rush the passer, blitz pickup, getting open, catching the ball, covering downfield, different play recognitions, total effort. I'd say coaching staff, substitutions, getting the right guys on the field, getting the calls in quickly. I think we're so far away from where we need to be, but that's usually where most teams are in the beginning of camps. 30 days away. There's a lot to work on, which is a good thing. We certainly need it.